Well, y'all, hell froze over again. It turns out that the horrible economy that just didn't exist and was the worst thing on the planet just posted lower inflation numbers to the tune where even CNN has to do glow up sessions about how good the numbers that are just now coming out. Y'all, I did a short on this earlier. It's time to start talking about some stuff and start saving our country and highlighting the things that are actually accomplishing that mission. I'm about to walk you through a myriad of things that you guys need to know that stacks on top of the job improvement numbers that came yesterday. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, at a certain point, we just got to talk about it and call a spade a spade. Everything will be linked in the description box below. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think. And of course, if you are down to save the country and you see these things as a benefit to this and the next generation, please continue to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. Your action literally gives us power, and thank you for that. All right, you can follow me on X at Braden LOA if you would like, but let's jump right into this. Guys, the U.S. core CPI tumbles to the slowest in 4 years as real wage growth surges. Okay, I told you in a live, I believe it was either last night or the night before, that wage growth was outpacing inflation by about 1% currently. I'm going to show you in a second the contrast between the Biden economy and the Trump economy. But honest to God, I've told you multiple times, I don't carry anyone's water, but I am going to tell you what's going on with everything linked and everything shown in the description box below for your review. But it's kind of hard not to give accolades when you're seeing these types of results. Even as much as people might want to be addicted to clickbait and content about things that are extremely negative and pessimistic, I'm not going to do that simply because A, I hate clickbait, and B, that's not the facts on the ground. All right, let's keep on trucking because I've got a lot of things to show you in so little time to do it. And what makes you happier than watching CNN go, it's really good and oh my God. All right, watch this.
Well, Kate, look, this is some encouraging news on the cost of living, right? Inflation took a big step in the right direction to start the year off. So consumer prices up by 2.4% year over year. That is an improvement from 2.7% in December that beat expectations, which were for 2.5%. In fact, this is a new 8-month low for annual inflation, month over month. Prices up by 0.2%. Also a step in the right direction, also beating expectation. Now,
okay, so both of these numbers were beating expectations. This is coming after job numbers yesterday were beating expectations. This is after all the other things that we're seeing. Gas falling off of a cliff in pricing. I know a lot of people in my comments are saying it's not happening to them, and they keep on saying they're in blue states, with the exception of a couple. But it's like, well, yeah, you live in a blue state. That's the point. The blue state puts more taxes on you at a state level, which makes your gas and consumption higher. That's not federal. That's state level. That's your state local government. But anyway, going back to this, 2% change is lower than expected. 2.4% change, which was below the 2.5 expected number, which is still going downward. And also, it's the lowest in 8 months. Y'all, things are getting better. They are. It's been 13 months. And honestly, I could argue through all the things that I've shown you, and I source everything, that there is a significant trend in the positive direction. And I think we need to talk about it more, to be quite candid. All right, let's keep on trucking. This video is not even close to being done. Listen to this. Again, this is CNN. This is not a made-up fictional AI video. This is CNN.
Economists look really closely at core inflation, which excludes food and energy. Core inflation came in at 2.5%. That's notable because that's the lowest annual inflation rate for core since March of 2021, before the inflation crisis. Now,
the lowest since before the inflation crisis. Let me translate that out for you. Since before the Biden administration. Y'all, we're now lower in the year-over-year annualized rate than before the Biden administration of the inflation crisis. I'm not saying it, CNN's saying it. The point that I'm trying to drive home here is the narrative of the economy being horrible and Donald Trump hates everybody and nothing's getting better is a abject lie. Overtly a lie. I'm going to keep on showing you more content to it too, because someone has got to say something about the insane propaganda we're all under. Let's keep on going.
While we can't exclude food and energy from our family budgets, that's important because economists say that's a better indicator for where inflation is going. And when you look at the trend for inflation over the last few years, you can see there's been some improvement, right? It's been a little bit bumpy on this chart. It's been bumpy. But it has improved. There was this uptick in inflation starting last spring after the president slapped massive tariffs on imports. Inflation started to go heat back up to 3%, but thankfully it's trending back down. Now, when we look at some of the notable categories as far as what people...
It's trending back down. Y'all, you're looking at that as a downward trend on a graph. Okay. Now let's keep on trucking. This is ABC News. Just in, inflation cooled in January, dropping price increases to their lowest level in 9 months and defying fears of a tariff-induced hike in overall costs. Okay, let's keep on trucking. Here's CNN's announcement. U.S. inflation cooled to 2.4% in January, an 8-month low, new data shows. Just in, U.S. inflation drops to the lowest level in nearly 5 years, going back to 2021, as gas and housing prices fall. Again, those that are addicted to outrage, not the audience members, I'm talking about specifically the narrative building entities in the space, you're talking about a complete and total just destruction of that narrative. 5 years as gas and housing prices fall. Let's keep on trucking. What this administration rightfully is focusing on is wage growth, and that's where we are getting massively good news. Y'all, you've got a 2% wage growth, you got a 1% inflation, you got a 1% cushion of benefit there for the American population. You have no tax on tips, you have no tax on overtime, and you have no tax on, or lower taxes on Social Security. This is all directly correlating to better economic numbers for yourselves and for the next generation and for your country as a whole. Bring on the mean tweets. We used to always say that in the Biden years. I miss the mean tweets. Well, congratulations. You got economic growth and you got the mean tweets again. I mean, okay, let's keep on trucking. By the way, I'm not frustrated with you guys. I'm just saying, in general, we need to get past the hangover of the Biden anger. That's all I'm saying.
The inflation rate that we saw come down, cooled off a little bit, and the wage growth. I think those 2 points are extremely important when it comes to an average American that just wants to feel like life is more affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. So the key from this administration, rightfully so, is to be focusing on wage growth, because let's be honest, since 2020, prices are still up 26%. So even though you and I sit here and we talk about the rate of inflation slowing, that sounds good for economics. But for the person sitting at home, they're thinking, that sounds like prices are still rising. They're just rising more slowly. And that's absolutely right. So what this administration rightfully is focusing on is wage growth. And that is where we are getting massive good news. Wages last month were up 0.4%. Prices are up 0.2%, which means your paycheck after inflation, more money in your pocketbook by double. 0.2% is the difference between those two. Since Inauguration Day, there's been great analysis on this. Wages are up 2%. Under Biden, remember, your wages had actually fallen 4%, adjusted for inflation.
This is the whole point, and please hear me on this part. When I say that the pricing is going down, what I'm talking about is the wage increases are outpacing the declining inflation. The net result is you have more money to spend on things. That is the net result. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that a bag of Lay's is going from $3 to $2. What I'm saying is the bag of Lay's, which still needs to come down further back to pre-pandemic levels, is being absorbed because your wages are going up. You're adding more wages, but the inflation is sticky in the actual good. Therefore, the net outcome is you are actually having more money in your pocket. That's the whole point. While inflation cools, your wages are going up. That's what's happening. Okay? I got even more for you. You have to cut through all the crap that they're throwing at you. Right here, this is an incredibly damning graph. Because all the people on the left who would sit there and say, oh, Trump's doing these bad things and it's so bad and so terrible and I'm really good at naysaying and I'm really good at being angry and negative all the time because I'm a liberal. Well, when you look at this and this graph side by side, it kind of blows that argument out of the water because everything was going bad in Biden land. You had a net negative of wages and a net increase of inflation. It's the exact opposite under the Trump administration in 13 months. Okay, let's keep on going.
When you look at overall inflation for the first year of Trump versus Biden, overall inflation was up 4.3%, higher than Trump, just up 1.6%. Groceries under Biden in that time, up 3.8%, with Trump up 1.3%. And then when it comes to gas, this is crazy. Biden up 24.4%, with Trump it is actually down 5.4%. That is where the biggest difference is. And we heard from the HUD Secretary, Scott Turner, this afternoon. They are racing to cut red tape for construction projects because the belief among officials here is that if housing is the number one place where people are getting killed when it comes to affordability, if people are cutting red tape and able to build more houses and apartments, then the prices will come down. Pretty basic supply.
Okay. We're going to do an entire different segment just on the things that they are doing in this area because they've done it with cars, they've done it with housing, and they've done it with the climate stuff and the EPA. That's a whole separate video. Legitimately, I have probably 5 or 6 videos stacked up in the pipeline right now. These are incredibly important things because they relate back to saving the country. Okay, one more thing for you, and then we'll keep on going on to our next video because we got a lot of stuff to go through. The real wage growth has surged 189% under President Trump from Biden. Biden minus 1.4%. Trump 1 plus 2.5%. Y'all, I don't even need to play the clip. You can just look at it right there. January 2021 to January 2025, down 1.4%. January 2025 to January 2026, up 1.25%. That is real wages. That is how much money you are putting in your pocket. Bring on the freaking mean tweets because my God. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm going to do a lot more of these videos because someone has got to do it. And honest to God, we're benefiting from what you're seeing happening. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. Later.